From visual art to the silver screen, the German expressionists took us deep inside the minds of a national and individual psyche. Arbeit psychology, a term originated in Germany. Translated, it gives us a definition of occupational psychology. These are the officers of Pearn Kandola. Their psychologists take a slightly less extreme view of the human mindscape, however. Pearn Kandola is one of the largest and most progressive occupational psychology practices in the UK and Ireland, specialising in assessment, development and diversity. Established in 1984 and based in Oxford and Dublin, Pearn Kandola currently employ over 50 staff, of which 30 are qualified psychologists. This puts their name at the top of the league. Pearn Kandola succeeds because they have a name that can be trusted.
We've got about 20 years' experience in selection and assessment, and I think our reputation is built on both rigour, quality and innovative research around all of those selection areas. The kind of clients that we deliver these services for typically tend to be well-known blue-chip clients, not exclusively but often. So organisations like BP, where we were heavily involved in developing their internal leadership assessment programme. Businesses like PwC, where again we are heavily involved in their director and partner selection systems. And as you can imagine, these kind of organisations, not only do they need the right people, but they need a process which is going to treat those people well, and that's something that we work very closely with them to make sure that we develop. I think the work we do illustrates our approach to assessment and selection assignments, and that is about regarding them as being a spectrum, where you have very focused, relationship-based individual diagnostic work at one end. At the other end of the scale, we have something which is much more about building a still highly accurate but very efficient selection process to give them the people with the customer focus and the enterprise that they need. We are continually building tools and improving tools across the whole of that spectrum.
The work Pearn Kandola has done with these clients has always been of the highest quality, but there are two recent cases which exemplify this. Vega is one of Europe's largest and most established space consulting and technology companies, and Europe's leading space simulations company. They provide independent expert support across the Earth observation, scientific, commercial and military domains of the space market, as well as the mission life cycle and program lines worldwide. Pearn Kandola had an out-of-this-world mission on their hands, and it began at the top with Vega's senior directors.
With Vega, the challenge is definitely at the individual assessment, individual diagnostic end of the spectrum. They're a far-sized organisation, they're willing to invest in their people, and the particular work that we're doing with them is taking individuals who perhaps are at a career crossroads or have a choice to make about which particular path they want to take. And Vega have taken the view that, well, that data, that assessment belongs to them. It's about encouraging their self-insight, it's about helping those people to make informed choices. So it's about building a close relationship with those people, using a whole suite of the best tools that are available, understanding the context that those individuals work in, and then putting that all together to give the individual the very best advice they can have in terms of making a choice about what their career will look like going forward.
This was one giant leap forward for Vega, but what were the results?
Our issue, if you like, was growing our technical workforce to become more commercial and more business focused, particularly at senior levels within the company, which means that we have a lot of technical capability, but if we're growing our own individuals, not necessarily a lot of business capability, and the business and commercial aspects is something we have to work on. We've used Pearn Kandola to do a very broad brush assessment of the individual's capabilities, so we can pick it up internally and use it within a career development framework for that individual.
Pearn Kandola's work with Vega is typical of its commitment to integrity, pushing boundaries, working in partnerships, applying psychology, and always delivering the best. Sainsbury's is one of the UK's leading supermarket brands. The company stands for great products at fair prices. Their objective is simple: to serve customers well. They can improve and develop their product ranges and work hard to give customers an ever-improving shopping experience. Sainsbury's also aims to fulfil their responsibilities to the communities and environments in which they operate. What kind of assessment service could Pearn Kandola offer the retail chain?
Well, there were three main things we focused on. Firstly, we needed to make sure that we measured three essential criteria. That was the Sainsbury's competencies, that was the candidate's intellect, and also, crucially, the candidate's motivation. The second aspect we focused on was making sure that we measured all of those elements right up front in the process. And thirdly, we also made sure that all those tools that we used were online so that they were automatically deployed and automatically scored, which made for a highly efficient process.
The objectives every year with our graduate recruitment activity is simple. It's really about getting the right graduates into our business. At the time that this particular piece of work was conducted, we'd introduced a new set of behaviours and values into the business as part of a cultural change about making Sainsbury's great again. So for us in graduate recruitment, it was absolutely pertinent that we had to review our existing graduate tools to ensure that we were getting the right fit for the graduates who were coming into the business. We worked with Pearn Kandola to ensure that we are actually reviewing those selection tools to ensure that the new culture of the business was ingrained in the tools that we were using. So what we wanted to do was to look at our existing selection process and understand how well was that actually working and what did we need to do differently. Firstly, what we wanted to do was to understand how to incorporate the new values and the leadership behaviours into the existing exercises which were working to give us good candidates. So the outcomes were a number of different things. We introduced a pre-selection tool to ensure that we were really giving graduates a good choice, a good decision-making tool to find out if the Sainsbury's culture was right for them. We also brought forward our psychometric testing out of the last stage assessment centre into one of the initial stages to ensure that we were actually sifting the thousands of applications that we were getting as Sainsbury's recruitment brand was really improving in the graduate marketplace.
There was room for new development then, and Pearn Kandola had the solution.
Our own research has actually shown that there's a number of key motivators which are important for predicting performance. These include things like competitiveness, a need for achievement, need for status, and a strong desire for, say, personal development and growth. Using that research, we then created a questionnaire which actually creates candidate profiles, essentially a motivation profile for them. Using this information, we actually worked closely with Sainsbury's, and in particular high-performing graduates within Sainsbury's, to identify what the motivational profile of those high performers was. What we found was actually a very clear profile emerged for those group of people, which we were then able to use as a template for sifting candidates.
The work done by the occupational psychologists was much appreciated.
The outcomes of the process were very, very clear indeed. Sainsbury's employment brand was really increasing in the graduate marketplace, so we were receiving between 6,000 and 9,000 applications a year. What we wanted to do was actually make sure that we could deal with those applications in a fair and consistent manner. So what we saw was that our conversion rates started to shift at different stages of the process. We saw conversion rates go down at the initial stages, where people were really sifted out of the process which didn't culturally fit the business. We also saw those conversion rates increase after the interview stage to ensure that we were getting a good number of quality candidates through to the assessment centre. As a result of that, our assessors at the assessment centre themselves actually saw some really good quality, good fitting people coming through.
Small and major businesses continue to reap the rewards of a union with Pearn Kandola.
What we try and do at Pearn Kandola is to actually fully understand the business and the commercial context that any of our work is based in. At the same time, any organisation is going to be concerned not only about getting an accurate assessment, in other words, getting the right people in the right positions, they also need to be concerned about the participant experience, the customer experience, if you like. How well are those people being treated, handled? Are they being handled sensitively? Are they also getting the data they need to actually make a judgment, or to let the individual make a judgment about the kind of role they want going forward? For all of those applications, the same kinds of rigorous processes apply, and that's about accuracy. It's also about fairness. It's about the validity of the assessment methods and the selection methods that we're using. It's about applying those in a way which are both commercially sensitive and individually sensitive to the needs of the people.
The company is optimistic and confident of its present and future success.
As far as the future of selection and assessment is concerned, there's continuing pressure to do it more cost effectively, increasing use of IT to drive it. The principles underlying it, however, need to be the same, that the rigour of the assessment, the accuracy of the assessment, thinking about the participant experience and continuously innovating to make sure that we're actually measuring those things that make a difference to the individual and the organisation.